What did the Barbie movie and Michael Phelps have in common that will grow restaurant sales? The answer will surprise you and definitely help grow restaurant sales. First, let's talk about the Barbie movie. So there was a lot of hype the weekend that Barbie and Oppenheimer faced off at the box office. Who would be number one? There were a lot of predictions and a lot of smack talk between Team Barbie and Team Oppenheimer. But at the end of the weekend, when the sales were counted, Team Barbie was number one. Now here's how important being number one is. Barbie did over $162 million the first weekend. Now that's a whole lot of money, but how much did Oppenheimer do in second place? Just over 82 million, which is barely half as much. In fact, if you add up the rest of the top 10, all put together, they didn't do as much as Barbie. Girl power, am I right? Now you may be asking, Paul, what does this have to do with restaurant sales? Well, everything, because I'm about to show you how being the best doesn't just help a little bit, it helps a lot. It's worth the effort, and it's not as hard as you may think. In just a minute, I'm going to give you another example that's going to make you say, wow, what the heck? This stuff is amazing. But first, let me give you an example of something you and I can relate to personally. How about when we travel? I get to travel a lot. And whenever I check into a hotel, I don't walk up to the concierge and say, hey, where's the most average steak in town? I say, hey man, where's the best steak in town? Where's the best seafood? What do you recommend? People don't want to take risk. They don't want to risk their money. They don't want to risk their time. So they go where they're confident it's going to be the best. But you may say, hey Paul, you just picked that movie because it's a blockbuster. That kind of thing doesn't happen all the time. But actually it does happen all the time. And I really want to give you another example because I want you to understand this principle because it will really help you grow your business if you have a business or you're a leader in the business. So a few years ago, I would teach leadership classes with all my managers. And one time we were all together and I said, hey, who has heard of Micheal Phelps? Every hand went up. He is the most decorated Olympic champion of all time. He has 28 medals from the Olympics. But then I said, hey, who's heard of Milorad Šavić? Anyone? The Serbian superstar. So what's the difference? They were both amazing athletes. They were both Olympic swimmers, but when they faced off against each other in Beijing, hey, it was the most hyped race of the entire Olympics. Everybody was waiting. It was almost as exciting as Barbie versus Oppenheimer. But at the end of the race, Michael Phelps won. And because he was the best, he got all the big money. He got all the watch endorsements. As a matter of fact, he was even on the cover of the box of Frosted Flakes. But here's the amazing part. How much did he win by? How far back in Michael Phelps' wake was poor old Milorad Šavić? Well, brace yourself, 1/100th of a second. 1/100th of a second. Remember earlier in the video when I said, it's not as hard as you may think? Well, here's the deal. When I say you have to be the best, you don't have to be the best by a lot, only a little bit better. But wait, there's more. More proof of why a little bit better makes such a big difference, and it works in every industry. I love this quote by the marketing genius, Seth Godin. He says, being the best is highly underrated. He gives some awesome examples of this in this awesome little book, The Dip. What do you think the #1 selling ice cream in the world is? Vanilla. What do you think number 2 is? Chocolate. But if you take number 2 through 10 and add them all up together, they don't sell as much as vanilla. So being the best is highly underrated. But if we look at Michael Phelps, there's another thing that made him the best. He won a lot over a long period of time. He won 28 medals across 3 Olympic Games across 16 years. So be a little bit better than everyone else all the time. Consistency matters. But wait, remember how I said it's not as hard as you may think? Well, here's the good news. You don't have to be better than everyone in the entire world, just better than everyone in your world. When we owned 38 Sonic drive-ins all across the South, our world was anywhere you could grab a bite to eat within about 15 minutes drive of one of our locations. Wow, now that's something we can do. Who is your competition near your store? Have you shopped them? Are they better than you? You gotta be honest with yourself. Then go back to your own store and make your store just a little bit better than them. Remember, people hate taking risks, and they only have a little bit of money and a limited amount of time, and they're not gonna risk being late or wasting their money on number 2 through 10. I didn't say it was gonna be easy, just not as hard as you may think. If you're ready to get started making your business the best in your world, you're gonna wanna watch this video next, because I went and shopped some of my toughest competition, and I show you exactly what to look for when you're shopping your competition, and I promise it's not as hard as you may think.